Hello, AP students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have notes for Chapter 9, Psychological Development, Part 6. 4 parenting styles and their effects. The authoritarian parent, these are the parents that believe in the concept of spare the rod and spoil the child. They demand conformity and obedience, and they tolerate little discussion of rules and enforce with punishment. This whole idea of it's my way or the highway is really kind of the theme of the authoritarian parent. Um, Authoritative parents, they have high expectations, which they enforce with consequences. They combine high standards with warmth and respect for the child's view, and it's kind of a democratic family atmosphere. In other words, yes, there are consequences for people's actions, but yet at the same time, these are parents that have a tendency to listen to their child and try to find reasonable ways of handling issues that come up. The permissive parent, they set very few rules and allow children to make their own decisions. They appear to be caring and communicative, but they believe that children learn best from their consequences of their own actions um, rather than following rules set by the parents. And so it may seem like these kids are kind of just doing whatever they please. And a fourth, that is some form of parenting style that is one that we don't normally spend a lot of time talking about, but it is one that is getting a lot of attention in I guess you could say in psychology textbooks and in the field of education. It's this area of the uninvolved parent. They can be indifferent or rejecting, and that rejecting could be in actions that look like neglect or abuse. Parents are, for the most part, very stressed because they have little time or energy for their children. So the impact of daycare, this is an area that has kind of a split audience here, but um, there are some people that say that there's some pros and cons, and some of the pros of daycare is that most children who do go to daycare do thrive in that setting. They do well or better intellectually and socially than stay-at-home kids. The con is the good quality of daycare, because to get good daycare, you're going to have to pay for it. And unfortunately, a lot of the families that are having to use daycare are already strapped for money. Some children in daycare are a little more aggressive than others. Part of that is, kids are usually put into the certain age groups within the daycare setting, and occasionally there are going to be some children who are a little bigger and a little more aggressive who tend to pick on others. All right. School and leisure influences U.S. kids and other industrialized children um, have more free time than children elsewhere in the world. Non-industrialized society, a child may work an average of 6 hours a day, where in the U.S., kids work less than a half an hour. And that's if they have chores that they have to do. Gender differences and socialization. The sexes usually prefer to segregate themselves. And if you ever watch kids on the playground, you may notice this. Boys tend to be a little more aggressive than girls on the playground. They kind of play games that are kind of ideally kind of dealing with that. So you might see them playing football or knockout or things of that nature. Girls tend to organize themselves in small cooperative groups, where boys often form larger groups that have kind of a hierarchical structure or have a pecking order, where boys compete for higher ranking positions. Evolutionary psychologists believe that the gender differences have an innate basis, and social cognitive theorists Kay Bussey and Albert Bandura believe that children learn gender roles and gender-related behaviors such as aggressiveness and competitiveness or cooperation. Thank you very much.